are back with our Belle podcast. This is our 6th episode, What I Love About Belle with Hillary Cole. Hi, Hillary.
Hello, how are you?
Great.
Lovely.
Gorgeous day. Absolutely perfection out here today.
Yeah, I'm not mad. I'm not shy about admitting that summer is my least favorite season because I'm allergic to the sun, so it's kind of, a worthless season for me. But this has been, it's mid-July right now. This is easy.
Gorgeous.
Summer should always be like this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you guys have a full day today. It's
We
looking busy in there.
Yeah, it's a full stacked Friday. I'm super excited because we have I'm not going to say what time because that would be probably not good for privacy. But later today, one of our guests coming in to taste is the proprietor who owns the Faniani Vineyard in Coombsville. Faniani Vineyard being one of our single vineyard Cabernets, and I think I've mentioned it before, either in the last podcast or the one before. I was excited about its release because it is my favorite thing in our portfolio right now. I think I warned everybody to get it before I do because it's very low on production levels. But she's coming in today, so I'm very excited to see Kelly and let her know how well the wine is doing because on that single vineyard flight that we just launched, the Faniani is definitely the star, and our guest, that's the one that they're walking out with the most of. So I'm excited to deliver that news to Kelly and also, to have her here tasting today.
Okay, I was going to ask. So she comes and tastes.
This is the first tasting that I've known her to do. She'll come in and visit, and she's obviously been to the winery. I believe, if I remember correctly, she was here because obviously we went to her house, her vineyard, for harvest, and it was 2019, for harvest of that vineyard. And I think she came here for crush, immediately after harvesting, came here for the crush, I think. Don't quote me on this, I could be wrong. And I know she's been here a couple times since then, but I think this is the first tasting that she's doing, like formal tasting. So
How fun.
Yeah.
That will be neat.
Yeah, stoked for that. But yeah, it's a busy summer. The Valley this summer, since June, has really slowed down compared to last summer. I think, just with like the uncertainties in the world and everything, people are kind of backing off from doing as much travel. Plus, the airlines are not exactly helping us out. I don't know if anybody saw that video of like London Heathrow and all the baggage. What a nightmare. So I don't know, what all the elements are that has visitation down valley-wide. But the cool thing that's coming from that is that it's opening up a lot of time that we don't normally have this year to really knock out, projects and start new projects and stuff. And so, and it also allows us to spend more time with our guests who are here, and kind of slow that tasting down a little bit and spend a little extra time with them. But yeah.
So speaking of projects, there was a major one we brought up, on our previous podcast, and it's getting closer and closer.
It made my day. I wasn't even on site for 10 minutes before John Hazak, our winemaker, brought in the very first fully outfitted, labeled, foil-on bottle of Scoundrel for his new label, his new package. And, just to review on that was a project where the conversation started before I even got here. I've been here for a little over a year now, and that conversation had been going for about a year prior to me getting here. And, for this, that, and the other, the conversation stalled. I mean, COVID stalled everything. Mm-hmm. So that conversation stalled, and then, we picked that conversation back up shortly after I got here and finally finished it out. And it was such a fun project. I love talking about this Scoundrel project because it was just so fun, and who he is as a character. I adore him. I can't wait to see his life unfold. And I talk about this wine like it's a person, right? It's absurd.
Yeah, it kind of is, right?
Yeah.
It has its character now.
He has his character now. And so the first bottle of the new Scoundrel with his new label and new capsule and back label and everything was established today. First bottle is sitting right over there. And I'm taking it home tonight. But yeah, that was a very happy Friday thing to walk into. Just seeing that come to a close. And now the only thing we have to do, we start, September 6th, with our people who are building the website on that project, because Scoundrel's getting his very own website, all of his own. It's going to be a really, really fun website that I'm excited for. And I think what I like about this project so much with Scoundrel is that it's like the yin and the yang, you know, on our Bell wine cellar side. And, you know, that's such a sophisticated boutique luxury premium wine, you know, and it's wines for serious connoisseurs, collectors, but we are also, as an education winery, the place for people to come to visit to get a good idea about what wine is and how different styles of wine fit into your life, fit into your cellar, fit into your different dinners, right? And so we kind of, on the Bell Wine Cellar side, we cover both ends of like being able to cater to both novices and connoisseurs, and not to say that I wouldn't say that we have a stuffy experience by any means. In fact, one of the things that our reviews and our clients really drive home over and over is how, you know, casual we are. It's like a casual approach to education and everything, but that connection is on the higher end side, you know. Scoundrel is the total flip side. I mean, the wine is called the Scoundrel, right? Like, how serious is this wine going to get? But it's a incredibly well-crafted wine at a great price point, with a super cute name, and being able to take that and spin it into a personality and into his own brand that is completely divergent from Bell Wine Cellars and what we do. So it's kind of like getting to work with two different companies at the same time. And so
very fun.
Yeah. Seeing that one come to life just makes me smile.
And when will we be able to show everyone the label?
Oh, don't you dare. John already tried. John had a bottle proudly displayed in the tasting room, and I was like, what are you doing? Not till late November.
Yes.
Maybe mid-November is when everybody will get to see the Scoundrel's new label.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have that. I just got back from doing a private in-home tasting in Atlanta. Some of our wine club members. Yeah. Great trip. Met some wonderful people. Came back with new family members. And new wine club members, and it went really well. It was really great to get back out on the road. September, I've got at least one, probably 2 trips out to Chicago for more private tastings for members. Back to Atlanta in October. So there's a lot going on. And then really excited to finally be able to share that we have our first event in almost 3 years on the calendar. Awesome. That will be October 22nd. We're doing a harvest dinner. John will be present, our winemaker. You know, he'll be there. The whole team will be there, and it's gonna be a great dinner. It is set up. It will be 4 stations out on our north lawn. That brand new lawn out there. And each of the 4 stations will have a different library wine. Which library wines we never open in the tasting room. You know, it's. Okay. We'll describe it, and here you go. And the library wines are also, only available to our wine club members. And this is a wine club member only dinner. It's being held pretty close at 60 people. We have enough space to be able to space out tables and everything for 60. And so it'll be 4 different library wines where our members will get to taste the library. And there will be a medley of past appetizers during that kind of cocktail hour. And then we'll have a seated and plated 3-course dinner with wine pairings. So that will be our first event in 3 years, to kind of say thank you to our wine club members for hanging in there with us as we navigated all these challenges with doing events and everything. And then next year in May, we're going overseas for the first time in a few years. So we'll be sending out an announcement here pretty soon to let everybody know, like, we're going to Bordeaux. 2 or 3 days with a land tour where we'll go through and explore the left bank a bit, and then we're gonna hop on a riverboat, or a river yacht, I should say, and do 7 nights of a river cruise through Bordeaux. And of course, every single day you stop in at a different place to go on land and explore and everything. But I just started the Bordeaux Master Program to kind of get ready for that. You know, I did French Wine Scholar and other master programs, and so I've obviously studied Bordeaux and everything throughout my studies as a sommelier. But just to kind of like get ready for this trip, and also to be able to give a more in-depth experience for the members who come. I just started the Bordeaux Master Program, so I'll be wrapping that up. Well, that's what I spend my life doing now when I'm not here, is studying Bordeaux.
Nice.
So, yeah. Well, that's
so exciting to be able to have, you know, events back and a trip on the books for our members.
Yeah. It's and I think when I was saying earlier that visitation being down this summer throughout the entire valley, it's a blessing and a curse, because when you're constantly, you know, going like we normally are at this time, you really don't have the headspace to you know, work on these ancillary things that just kind of get pushed aside because you have to get today done, you know, before you can even think about next year. And so kind of having the time and the space and the headspace to be able to think ahead. And yeah, so that's all for me. But yeah, we've been listening to me ramble through 5 episodes now, so I think it'll be fun to see what John's got going on. You know, I'm kind of like still managing the projects that we've been talking about, and Belle is, you know, on that same track, you know, that we've been talking about. The wines are doing great, but I think that it'll be fun to pull John in and let him talk about where we're at.
Let's go grab John.
Yeah.
And now with us is our winemaker, John Hazak. Welcome, John.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm great. How you doing?
Good.
Good.
What's going on? What's the update?
We are actually just finishing assembling the 2020 blends. So all the big red cabs, the clone wines, they're all about to go into bottle next week. So we're it's very exciting. They taste great.
Oh, good.
And a couple new ones squeezed in there. So it's going to be a great vintage. It's nice to see that after a great 2018 vintage and 19 in bottle, and now the 20s are following suit. So it's nice when you have a nice string of high quality vintages. So,
it's helpful, huh?
Yep. And in the vineyards, we're mostly doing final touches on shoot positioning and thinning some fruit. We're still a little ways away from veraison, where the grapes turn color and start to soften and ripen. Right now, we are just making sure the vines are balanced. They have what they need to start that last stretch and go into the ripening season. Harvest will start probably around August 20th each year, typically, usually with Sauv Blanc and some of our Syrah from the Sierra foothills.
Okay.
So,
Which of the Napa vineyards do you expect will hit first?
A little bit of Sauv Blanc from Yountville here, probably one of the earliest, and then typically after that, maybe the Mount Veeder cab tends to be, because it sets a very small crop up on the hillsides. It's a pretty stressful environment, and those vines cannot handle a heavy crop. So very small clusters, very sparse clusters, and just not much fruit in general. And it tends to ripen pretty quickly, especially if we have a hot year.
Yeah.
So far, last year started pretty warm in this part of the year, but then once the ripening season started around late July and in August, it cooled down a little bit. So we had a nice gentle finish. So I'm hoping for that here as well. But looks good out there. Looks pretty balanced. I think slightly below average on crop size, which usually is a good thing for quality.
Good.
Yeah.
But that's mostly what's been happening on the winemaking front.
It's been busy in there.
Yep.
Yeah. There's been hoses, and the guys have been running around. Forklifts going around.
Yeah. It's a busy time for us. Harvest and bottling. Bottling, they always say it's the winemaker's least favorite thing to do. So many things have to align. All the stars have to align. All the materials in place. The wine's finished and ready. And we have a mobile truck that comes. They're the pros. We don't have a bottling line here. So it takes a lot to keep a bottling line running, especially when you only use it 2 or 3 times a year.
Right.
So it's better to bring in a truck with the pros. They've got sparkling new equipment, and they know how to do it, and they do it all the time. So it's better for the wines in the long run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bottling is a labor-intensive day.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, usually 2 or 3 days of, especially doing it in the summertime. Pretty hot. And,
Yep.
yeah, we're out in the sun. So.
Shoulders just screaming at you.
Yeah. A lot of lifting.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tell us about what we're drinking today.
2019 Chardonnay. This is from our estate here, so Yountville. Yountville is towards the south end of Napa Valley. Tends to be a little cooler down here, a little heavier soils because we're closer to the river. The whites do well here. Sauv Blanc. We don't have any Sauv Blanc planted here, but the Chardonnay does well. And it's this particular vintage was split into 2 different lots. Half of it I did in some new barrels, full malolactic fermentation, a lot of lees stirring, we call batonnage. Stirring of the lees, it's the yeast that settle to the bottom after fermentation, and they start to release proteins and polysaccharides that give the wine mouthfeel and creaminess, which is good in a Chardonnay for sure.
Yes.
So half of it was done that way, and half of it was done in stainless steel fermentation, a little cooler, so it preserves the fresher fruit, and also only a partial malolactic fermentation. So it preserves some of that malic acid that gives a little bit of a brightness. And then they came together for bottling.
Mix them. Wow.
A little bit of the best of both worlds.
Yep. Well, thank you.
Good. Yes.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you, John.
When I was up at BV blending Ron's wine, the Aram Cab, the one that's gonna come out soon.
Yeah.
They had lent a bunch of their blending room glassware for an event. So they only had some of the last glassware, and it was the stuff in the back that hadn't been used in a while, and it was dusty. And we're trying to blend, and I'm like,
this is not.
And then Trevor, like, his favorite wine of the lineup that we had was the one that I had this like horrible dusty aroma. And I'm like, well, that killed it for me.
Yeah.
It's your favorite was my least favorite just because of the glass. So it's important to me.
Absolutely.
And
it changes.
and coating the glass is really the easy. I like to prime the glass first. I usually pour a little bit, swirl and coat, and then pour out, and then pour fresh. If you have the luxury of doing that.
Yes.
When I'm blending top wines, that's important.
Yeah.
When I'm blending the top wines, I want them to be exactly what they are and show exactly as they are.
Do you have a favorite glassware brand? I do.
I've always loved Riedel just because they're readily available, and and for the most part, their major glass shapes work. You don't. I think, of course, that's their business, and they go to an extent where they make a glass for pretty much anything.
Is that what this
Do you
is?
need all those?
Riedel?
Yeah, this is a Riedel.
Okay. Oh, yes. Right.
Sorry
So-
to share with you, I'm
yeah.
switching us to Gabriel glass next year.
Oh no, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it. I'm just saying it's easy to find them. Their quality's been great to me over the years, and I've been using them for 25 years.
Yeah, I think
so it's
for
not like not all of these have been available that long.
Riedel's the great, to me, like the great workhorse brand.
Sure.
And like when I have parties with a bunch of people, I won't. The number of cases of Riedel glassware I have at my house is egregious. It's like over 25 cases of glassware at my house for Riedel's. Because when I have parties, I have like a lot of people over, and we drink out of proper glassware. But Riedel's is what I have for like my workhorse glass. But for like what I prefer, it's always Gabriel glass. I love the
That's
Gabriel's.
good. Well, even the
Easier
Riedels, the
to-
top Riedels, the sommelier
pretty.
series, they're very thin and they're big too. So it's a very thin.
Yeah.
It's almost like paper.
Yeah.
In terms of
You
and
do
it's
Break
beautiful.
easily, or is it-
Yeah, you have to be careful.
You have to be very careful with them. Like the standard for Gabriel glass, the standard is more is more durable than the gold. Like the gold is paper thin. It's so delicate. But just the way the glass is designed, it's kind of flatter in the bottom and then kind of tulips up or goes in at the top. As a wine glass should. But it's a one size fits all glass. Like any varietal, I even drink champagnes out of it.
Oh,
And not necessarily like the more reductive style champagnes, but my more oxidative styles. And then any white or red, like it's a one size fits all glass. It's
that's
amazing.
nice.
But there's a marked difference. Like even when I pour in other brands of glassware compared to the Gabriel glass, I get much more expression.
Yeah.
Of
I know
Gabriel's.
a lot of people that what would be Riedel's tulip style burgundy
Yeah,
glass.
uh-huh.
They use that for everything. I've tried it. Works just fine. But
Mm-hmm.
in general, I mean, as long as I have a cab shape
Yeah.
and a Pinot shape, and then maybe a Sauv Blanc or aromatic whites,
Right.
that
Right.
fits the bill for me. I have a couple really, really nice glasses, but for the most part, the workhorse Riedel works fine. And,
Yep.
and if they break, it's not the end of the world.
Exactly. my
Not
Gabriels,
as expensive.
I never wash my Gabriels the same day I was consuming out of them. Like,
Good
that
call.
can wait.
Yeah,
Good call.
Exactly. Yeah. Glassware matters, and I've had clients and students who have kind of been like, the glass is the glass, and then you put an actual flight together for them that exhibits how the glass is not just the glass, and you can get a convert like that by doing a proper side by side.
We've done Riedel Wine Club seminars, and it's very, very telling that when you bring. Usually we would pair some of our wines with their lineup of glassware, but it's always interesting to see Dixie cup, and then like something that you'd find at a diner, just the really small, the very thick
Super
glass,
thick,
Yeah.
something like that, and then go put a Cabernet in a Pinot glass, and then or maybe a Sauv Blanc glass, then a Pinot, and then a proper Cab, and watch that change, that gradient of what you get out of the
That would
wine.
be-
It's pretty impressive,
Might
and
wanna
it's
do that.
yeah.
Well, because the science of the shape of the glassware has to do with the weight, for lack of a better term, of the aromatics of that variety of grape. And so, when you have the kind of wider burgundy one, it allows the delicacy and the delicate nature of those aromatics more space to kind of move around in. Whereas when you have like the super, like really expressive varieties of wine, you can go with a narrower top to kind of like keep them there and not completely overwhelm your olfactory.
It's interesting. The only difference between the Cabernet shape and the Syrah glass is that this just continues upward and narrows the opening just a tad, but the shape is the same. At least with Riedel.
Yeah.
I'm sure there might be others, but it is interesting what that does, how that
And
can
how
change the wine.
focuses to your nose.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's subtle differences, and sometimes like between a Cab and a Burgundy or Cab and Pinot glass, it's pretty obvious.
Wow.
See the stuff we can geek out.
So, yeah.
It all matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like a champagne, you don't need that to.
So when it comes to champagne glassware, I am very opinionated about this. There are people who
She's the expert.
there are people who tell me that flutes are garbage and should never be used, and I say nay. Flutes for reductive style, because what the shape of a flute does, that tall cylinder does, is it keeps the bubbles and it keeps the texture. The wider the glass is, the bubbles dissipate and you lose that texture and you
Go flat
lose that
quickly.
effervescence and it goes flat. So when you have like those super racy reductive style, like lean, blanc de blanc style, you want that flute so that beautiful bead continues to go, because that bead is what's really leading the elegance of that wine, that acid and everything in that wine. When you get to the Blanc de Noirs, the more oxidative styles, not all Blanc de Noirs are oxidative, but when you get to those more oxidative styles, you can go with a rounder like we call them AP, all-purpose glass, or in very specific cases, a Burgundy glass. I would use a Burgundy glass for like an aged champagne that's got 20 years on it or so, because the effervescence is already decreased just from the bottle age, and then the aromatics are so much more important in those aged champagnes. But I'll use an AP glass, like this shape but smaller, for an oxidative style of champagne, because in those, like, yes, the bubbles are still important, but the aromatics are, in my opinion, much more complex and much softer, and so you need that space.
Yeah, I use Sauv Blanc glass for something like that,
Yeah.
but the flutes work as well.
Yeah. Flutes for bead, wider for aromatics.
There we go.
Yeah.
Love it.
Thanks for this time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been time.
So
Good to see
fun.
you.
It was fun to have
Yeah.
you join us.
Yes.
I know.
Yes. Till next time.
Well, as always, a lot of projects, positive. We have events back. We have a new label coming. And as we wrap up our podcast, we'd love to know, what does Hillary love about Belle?
I love seeing a plan come together. And
Always
yeah, and there's so many of these projects that are, I mean, obviously with seeing the new Scoundrel package, like, check, that plan's together. And there are so many projects that we've been working on for so long that are like right here to either being to the next phase or being wrapped up. And so this is a really kind of nostalgic, cathartic, exciting phase to see, like, okay, this has been getting worked on for a year and we're there on it now. It's either finished or it's on to the next phase, while, simultaneously there's all these new projects starting up at the same time. But I think this month, I'm like where I feel right now, like seeing a plan come together. I love it.
Well, cheers to a plan coming together.
Yeah, thank you.
Go Belle. To learn more about what we discussed today or previous episodes, you may watch our podcast on our YouTube channel, as well as Spotify, What I Love About Belle with Hillary Cole. Of course, our website provides all information. Learn more about our events coming up, trips, our clonal tastings.
All the things.
All the things. For more information, give us a ring or visit our website, bellwine.com.